Oh, welcome back. Today we have what I call JDM Magic, Rexy for cheap, and McLaren that is not from LCD, and of course the hot list. Until recently, Ignition Models was the only game in town when it came to looking for your JDM cars. That'd be anywhere from your typical passenger cars to your sports cars, all the way to your tuner cars. Ignition was the place to go. The problem with Ignition though was all their models was resin and sealed. Again, that was until recently. Now you have a plethora of companies that are creating what we've always wanted, fully opening Japanese model cars. Some examples include LCD model Civic EG6 SER2, Motor Helix Civic Type R, the spoon version, both Potty and Motor Helix the FL5 Civic Type R, Motor Helix Nissan GTR Anniversary Edition, AutoArt 2022 Nissan GTR, the R35 Nismo, the MK4 Super from LCD, and most recently we have the 118 Well Honda Civic Type R FD and the Wellart Toyota Super 880. The Wellart is following in the footsteps of Motor Helix by not just including a motor display, but also one-upping by including the removable and interchangeable wheels. You also have the ability to remove engine panels as well as some of the body panels. Now, complementing all these accessories and gimmicks, the overall look of the model itself is quite good, but not at the level of the outstanding piece by LCD. The bottom line, the fact that there are multiple options available like companies like Wellart, Solidio, and LCD is a true win for collectors who have been clamoring for the day when you can finally own a fully opening JDM model car of your dreams. 2 weeks ago I did a review of the Rexy model, and that was by Top Speed Models. It's a fantastic model. It's that Porsche. Now, it wasn't until recently that I found out and realized that there's another company that also is making a Rexy, and that would be IXO. And the IXO, by the way, is a fully die-cast model. No, it does not open, but again, it's a fully die-cast model. The reason why I bring that up is because almost a year ago, I did a comparison of the Porsche models that were made by Spark Models versus the Porsche models that are made by Top Speed. It was no coincidence, and it is common by the way, that both of those models were produced by the same Japanese factory. They were basically identical. The only thing that was different, obviously, was the livery of the two Porsches. If you want to look back on that, it's in one of my videos back in the day, probably earlier part of 2023. Now that being said, the bonus is that the Rexy model has been retailing way above its $209 price. I've been seeing them as high as $350, and it's because the Rexy model is very popular, especially among younger race fans. The IXO you can find for less than $100. And the IXO, like I said, in comparison of the Top Speed model, there is not a significant difference. So if you want a collectible popular car, skip the Top Speed, get the IXO. Now before I get to the hot list, I want to talk about the McLaren 675 LT. The model is now being made by a company that is called HPD Diecast, or HPD Models I should say. HPD stands for High Performance Diecast. Now this company may not be something that you heard of. They've actually been around for a little bit. They specialize mostly in muscle cars, but for some crazy reason they decided they wanted to make the McLarens. Now these models are fully die-cast. They do have them on pre-sale. 2 of them actually have been available already. The 2 colors are, one is called a chicane gray and the other is a blue, and it's a very bright blue. But if you go to their website, you can see that they do have additional colors on pre-sale. And from the pictures, these models actually look really good. But what was a little deceiving was the first time I actually paid attention and looked at these models, these are the photos that I was looking at. And I was stunned. before I realized that was just a graphic art depiction of the car. The actual model, when you do go further on into the pics, you can see here, that's the actual model. And yes, some of you are probably going, ugh, because you're already paying attention to these ridiculous shut lines that you're seeing here. And I have to say, yes, that has me concerned, because AutoArt has their version of the 760, I believe it is, but it's not quite this one. And I really would like a model of this, but the photos are not giving me a great impression. Look at that shut line on the door. Now, of course, these are more than likely pre-production models. I do know that there are some publications that have already done some reviews on this, but I would like to get one of these firsthand so I could actually do a full-on review. So the impression of this model has been a little bit mixed. The one plus side is, again, it's fully opening. You have exposure to both the interior as well as the motor, which, you know, for AutoArt, for example, you can barely see anything, whereas this model you can see pretty much everything. So that is something to be excited about. But again, we'll see. We'll do a review on it and see. These are limited edition, by the way. The limited editions range anywhere from 500 units to 600 units depending on the color, and there are various other colors that are going to be available. Now we're moving on to the hot list. The hot list are models that are soon to be released or have recently been released, and they're going to sell out quickly. Starting with AutoArt. AutoArt's producing the Porsche 911 GT3 RS Weiss's package. A little behind, AutoArt. When is the latest GT3 coming out? The 22-23 model. Talk about missed opportunities. This one is in the white and black color. There will be additional colors to follow. Next, we have the Ford Mustang Shelby GT3 500 in Oxford White. The GT 500 is Ford's muscle car with supercar performance. Expect other colors to follow. Speaking of supercars, AutoArt has released photos of the upcoming Bugatti Divo, and this one, the color is called Comet Gray. Just like the GT 500, there'll be additional colors to follow. As to when any of these new products will be available, your guess is as good as mine, as AutoArt has been very slow with the releases as of late. Now we move on to Motor Helix with their Alfa Romeo Giulia GTA. What a beautiful this one is. It's currently available in green, red, and white. From the photos, this is another award-winning, fully detailed model, and if it sells well, expect additional colors. Finally, this one came out of nowhere. LCD has released the Pagani Huayra Roadster BC in full carbon fiber. This beautiful beast will sell out quickly. Let's just hope it does not have the notorious peeling problems and certain quality issues as the previous model had. And that completes this week's hot list. Finally, to close out this video, we're going to talk about I Told You So. And what do I mean by that? In most of my reviews, I talk about value appreciation, and it's not because I want you to buy models so you can make it an investment and make money. That is not the goal of what this channel is, and that's not why I talk about values. The main reason why I talk about values is because I learned the hard way when I first started collecting. I tracked the very first AutoArt Koenigsegg back in the day when they had, I believe it was the Agera, and it was red. And what I didn't realize at the time, which would have been one of the first really expensive models that I would have purchased, I had waited. I waited months because I wanted to save up money, and I was on the fence of buying it. What started happening, as I noticed as the weeks go by, is the price kept going up. And I didn't understand why. And it got to the point where it was unattainable, and I never purchased that model. It became too expensive. So I learned a hard lesson about supply and demand and the collectability of die-cast model cars. So, with that said, what I'm referring to is the midnight color for the midnight purple color for the AutoArt Nissan GTR Z-Tune. If you've looked lately, that model has escalated in pricing. And I'm saying that because if you go to AutoArt's website, the American website anyway, you will find that when you look at the GTRs, by far the most priciest one, and keep in mind these are AutoArt prices, the priciest one you'll find is that midnight purple at $280 US. Whereas the other colors, you have $220 here, you have $230 for the carbon fiber, black one's $220, you get the point. And the nice silver one, same thing, $220. Now, if you go search on the website of a certain kind that does auctions, you can see that the lowest one price that I've seen anyway is at $261. Here's one for $269. Again, other colors, look at that, discounted. Keep in mind that AutoArt's price was $220. Here it's $198. $214, $198. Hey, the silver one is a beautiful model. But the point being, $299, is that yes, these prices on these models have gone up. When I purchased, and yes, I do have a model of I do have the AutoArt version, I didn't pay $269. I didn't pay $261. I paid the retail $220. So again, I guarantee you, you track this in the next few weeks. When I say a few weeks, give it about a month. I guarantee you these prices are all going to be in the 300s. And so that's my fair warning. And that's again why I always talk about value appreciation. It's because if you're going to get a model, especially one that I put on my hot list, those are the ones that have that tendency. They start at one price point and they grow fairly quickly in time. So that's just something to keep in mind. Please like and subscribe. That is the best way I'm going to know you're enjoying these videos. I really do appreciate your time, and I look forward to seeing you next time.